if you use like half of one of these, you're just gonna be like in a whole pot of chili.
What I do is I just freeze them, but like in comparison to what you're saying about those chilies, like those ones that I've got, the Trinidad ones are actually bulbous.
Oh, like
they're like wee tiny bulb looking thing.
Wee tomatoes.
There's like a dead one on top of it that you can sort of see, but
I dried it.
Yeah, it's like dyed and dried, both.
Anyway, that's going to be the start.
It's like just the most boring fucking conversation you've ever heard. Like chili plants, aye. It's pure spicy. Can he handle heat?
Welcome to Anthony Hoffman.
Doing a podcast.
A podcast.
About stand-up comedy.
Stand-up comedy.
It's out on a limb.
We're out on a limb.
So let's start the episode.
Do we look at the camera or do we?
So you can look at it if you want. Really. I sometimes do, and then but most of the time
I'm going to try my best not to. I'll look it off into the
that's
distance.
That's fucking you all over. Just like, I'm not going to look at the camera. Pair of sunglasses on the whole time.
It's actually so funny because people that know me just like know my kind of sheer arrogance and ignorance towards like being told what to do.
It's just what's it called, thingy defiance, oppositional defiance. You're just like,
but I've never got it for a good cause, right? And I wanted to bring this up because I listened to your episode with Chris Mitchell-Lee. Is that his name?
That's him.
I've just fucked his name and he's going to be like, who is this jabroni? Anyway, yeah, I listened to that episode.
I think he's get on.
Well, we met very briefly. Like not had a conversation. I made fun of his family.
It's a good start.
We can talk about that later.
Yes.
They were actually good spots about that one, especially because it could have went south very quickly. But I knew that the defiance there it is
exactly,
again.
You got
but yeah, like I never defy things for like a good cause.
It's just because I fucking want to.
Yeah, it's because like I sit back and I'm just like, you know what, I don't want to do that. There's nothing about that. And for you were talking about your kind of militant politicisms.
Yeah.
Which I would have known you.
Yeah, you were around it.
Which is weird how you ever got on with me because I'm so fucking. Not that I don't agree with any of your. I just don't make it known that these are my thoughts and feelings about certain things. I'm an opinionated person, etc. But I don't generally go talking about what I believe in politics and that unless the conversation dictates it.
Yeah.
And I don't go out and be an activist because I hate.
Activists, yeah.
I hate them, man. They're so they're dull people, and I could talk for hours about that part, living in a fucking echo chamber, etc. All these people speaking to your own people. You're not convincing anybody else. You're just talking to your own crowd.
Yeah,
like stand up.
Yeah.
Because every time I do it, it's just my friends and family, and
like,
all I'm doing, and they're just laughing at the same jokes over and over again.
That's good support.
Yeah.
I was saying this recently. I did a joke where I said when I was hosting the other night, and I'd said, so you're visiting, you're here to see somebody you care about. Oh, your best pals. That's nice. Yeah, it's lovely when your family and friends come out to support you. My boyfriend is supporting my comedy career in a working from home format.
Has your dad been to any of your shows? Like, I've only ever met your dad. What I think was once. Back in the day, was it Richard?
Richard,
that's unbelievable. I remember
that is actually unbelievable. I'd never.
I don't remember names, man. So the fact that I did, that's like. So he's been.
He's been to a few of them. He finds it moderately funny, but it's like it's. I think I've said this in other episodes, but it's like the folk who know you, they know you're who you are, and so they don't necessarily find it as funny. Mm-hmm. Like one of my favourite jokes, or like one of the best jokes, is like when I talk about being large, beautiful, and willing to slap a bitch if I'm hungry. And my dad says he doesn't like that joke because he doesn't like that I call myself large. And I'm like, Richard, I'm 6 foot tall. Even if I wasn't talking about being fat, like I'm 6 foot tall. He's just a sweetheart. It's like, don't be mean about yourself. I'm not.
But that's the whole point, you know. Like most of the people that I enjoy that were on what was the ultra course for me, but was eventually just Viv's course
Yeah.
because theirs get so fucked, you know. That's what I like about most of those people. Everybody on that course is able to put themselves down majorly, and I don't tend to put myself down on stage because I do that enough in regular life. But I start off on a high note with the Aquaman and Jesus vegan stuff, and just get that out of the way, man.
Aye, just you have to address what you look like, I
Yeah.
think, very quickly, because that's all people are. That's all they know about you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you address that immediately, they go, "Oh, this is a person I can laugh at," because they can laugh at themselves, and then they'll laugh, and it's a good place to start from.
After one of the shows that I done, someone I worked with, when I walked up and I was talking about it, they said, that Aquaman stuff, that made me laugh so much. It's so true. And I'm like, that's because I've been hearing it for fucking 7 years or something.
Everybody's doing it.
Every fucking week while I'm working, in every place I've worked, it's like somebody will be like, do you know who you look like? You look like that fucking Aquaman cunt. And I'm like, do you know what? 1, he's very good looking. 2, he's fucking super shredded. 3, he was married to Lenny Kravitz's ex-wife. I have none of those things. I'm just wishing I was Lenny Kravitz at this point.
The thing is, it's a mad compliment to say that you look like Aquaman.
It really
It's like-
is, but
And I'm not saying that to slight you. I mean, someone's told me I look like Jennifer Lawrence before, and I'm like, thanks.
I mean, you know what I mean in that regard,
Yeah.
because you're like, well, these people are indefinitely better looking because they put time into it.
Yes. And we put significantly less time and effort into
Yeah,
it.
I get my hair cut yesterday for the first time in about 7 months.
It
know?
is shaved at the side.
Yeah,
I can see
so
it's short.
That's the difference. Yeah, like I don't do the put down stuff that often just now. I think it's really easy to just be like, oh, I'm fat, I'm overweight, I'm standing there on stage. But some people are very...
You've seen Chris Mitchell, eh?
Yeah, man, that's what I was going to say. He's very good at it,
Yeah.
but because, like, my God, see when he fucking walked on stage and he was like, I don't want to ruin his set, obviously, but when he walks on stage and he's like, I'm Mikey for recess, you're just like, fuck. And he wears the t-shirt to go along with it, you know?
He sent it to, like, into our group chat of, like, where we write stuff, and he just went, like, he said, is this a fair comparison? And everyone was just like, 100%, absolutely, that is you.
I mean, when you get, like, something as good as that, you know, that's only happened to me. What I feel is the once all my writing stuff is like you get something, you're just like, I know that's good for the get-go.
Yeah.
And it's my JFK joke. I fucking love that one. It's short, it's quick. I don't do short, quick jokes, and the fact that I managed to get one,
Abadoomcha.
I was like,
I love it.
yes. And you can just throw it in whenever you're struggling.
Yeah.
It's just like a shot because that's the joke.
Yeah. That's the joke. I do that so much on stage. See, if it's like, I say so much as if I like, this happens a lot. It does. I don't want to admit that though. But if I don't get laughs out of people, then I will just go, that's the joke, and just explain it. And then it like forces people to laugh because they're just
that's a rough. You know, if it makes
it's
you
bottom
happy.
of the barrel, man.
Makes you happy.
It's proper scraping the bottom of the barrel. It's like, you're like, that's it. Because a lot of the time people don't get my John Wick joke. And then
Which is bizarre. I've never seen John Wick, but I know what it
you
is.
get the reference, and you should see John Wick. It's fucking excellent.
Yeah.
But
Do you know what the issue is in mundane conversation? Every time I went to watch it, every single one of them's on a different streaming platform.
that's so unfortunate.
So why would I bother?
Yeah.
It's like John Wick 3 was on Netflix when I had Netflix. I'm like, why would I start there? What's
No,
the
you got to
point?
start with one.
What do I start with? Do I
Also,
start
they
with
decrease in quality.
where do I
like-
really start? Do I start with The Matrix or Bill and Ted?
Bill and Ted, obviously, of the Keanu Reeves being the same guy saga.
It just takes me like fucking 20 years to finally watch them all because none of them are on the streaming service. We never introduced ourselves.
No, like I'm sitting here going like, right, we've got to start this. It's fine. I'll do a wee.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go.
We'll do it then.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello there.
Hello there. This is James,
Yes, I am James.
the better known of the James Taylors,
Actually, probably the third most famous.
the third most famous.
Third most famous. You've got James Taylor, the
Yes.
the The Fire one. Is that the song that he did? Fire. I don't even know his music. He was in The Simpsons. I know that.
I know that
And
he
you know
drove
that
a car called Little Bastard.
Did you have to like look this up?
No, I just know that about James Taylor
Is it
because I watched Supernatural.
Fire and something? I think the song was called. I don't know, man. Like, I've fucked that there.
I bet you that wasn't. That was probably James Dean. Now that I think about that, I don't know who James Taylor is. You're the most famous James Taylor to me.
he sang a Homer in space in the episode where Homer goes to space. He done that,
see.
and it was him that voiced himself. So he's the most famous James Taylor. Second most famous James Taylor is the James Taylor Quartet. They're a band. I don't know if they're all called James Taylor, but I like to think they might be.
That'd be great. You could join.
I'm the third most famous, right? Because I seem to know a lot of people, but don't want to know a lot of people.
You're one of those people. You're straight up one of those people.
I don't want to be, but I hate it. I fucking hate knowing so many people.
Knowing people. Stop going out and meeting
It's
folk.
10 years in the hospitality industry, man, and I just get people, like, even yesterday, day off, I walked into Solid and the guy was like, "How do I know you?" And I was like, "I know how you know me. You know, I don't know your name, but like,
It's like, you know me because I look like every person who comes in here every week."
Fourth most famous James Taylor.
Oh.
You're gonna like this one. You might have never noticed it, but I noticed it. One of the producers on Taskmaster is called James Taylor.
You would notice that. I notice every pool that exists in history. I'm like, there they are.
Like fucking the only pill that I know beyond you is a cozy pill.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what everybody gives me. Like, everyone else is like, just they are things like
He was
TV
in
producers.
Deep Purple, or am I mixing that up?
I think Rainbow.
I think he was in both.
That's entirely possible, and we might both be wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well,
this
Richie
is,
Blackmore was in Rainbows and then
Oh,
Deep
yeah.
Purple, so
Okay.
that's possibly why. James Taylor.
this is James Taylor. James, I'm going to sit up because I'm actually melting into this couch.
Yeah, it's not comfy, is it?
It's one of these like classic student accommodation type couches.
It doesn't get used either, so thank God it's in prime condition.
So we're here at James' mode of house, Casa del Taylor, and James has been a buddy of mine for, well, I've known you since like
Probably
2013,
11-ish years.
11 years, because we went to university together,
Yeah.
and then communicated through a series of sporadic Twitter and Facebook messages every like 6 months between then. And then I landed up doing comedy, and James messaged me realising I did comedy and he did comedy too, and then
I had done it first.
Yeah,
Aye, I'd done it first. But you've
I
done
did it
more.
first.
You've done more than me since then. I do comedy in other ways that isn't just stand-up comedy.
yes,
and
which you can talk.
I think you'll enjoy talking about some of this.
I'm excited
We'll
to
get
hear.
to whatever you want to do. You can lead, because I know I've got a tendency to start.
I actually was driving over here and I was just like, this is supposed to be my podcast. And
It'll
straight
become
up, James is going to host this podcast today.
I find it very difficult to let somebody else take charge of
The
things.
reins.
Yeah, like I've never been able to, even with like uni projects and that, but like so good when you're doing a master's degree because nobody needs to do work with you. It's all yourself.
That's glorious. We had some bastards fucking...
Oh, you can't say that, man.
coursework back, but-
I meet a lot of them still.
No, I mean, as in, like, we just had some bad like bits of group
Yeah.
work and that, where it was like folk would just no do fuck all. To be fair, I think the people, with the exception of one person who I've previously accused of doing fuck all and refusing to be in a group project with him because of it, I think the people you still see were all folk who did lots of it. Because
Yeah.
we were in a podcast together. We did ourselves called All Star Super Nerds many years ago. Got to 16 episodes.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I was wondering if you happen to still have them anywhere.
Very unlikely.
Because they went all onto Podbean, and then when we stopped paying for it, they just deleted it all, and you
Yeah.
can't get it back anymore.
Very, very unlikely I'd be able to ever find any of that
Yeah.
again.
I'm
glad.
lost most of it, but
I'm glad it was not.
I think it was very good.
I think you're looking with rose tinted glasses.
It's possibly true.
I was stressed with a lot of that time period, man, for that, because it was a lot of work.
Do you know, it was like there was this sort of, we kind of just got better and better with it, and it was going well, and then they just started releasing too much. And we were just like, we were trying to do it every 2 weeks, and I remember just messaging you being like, have you watched this film yet? And you were like, no. Have you? And I'm like, yeah. And then you go, have you read this comic yet? And I'm like, no. It's like we could not keep up with it all.
At that time period, like, you're talking I want to say 2014, 2015. So Guardians of the Galaxy was roughly just coming out. Do you know what's funny about that, right? Some people might not find it funny. Do you know we started talking about The Rock being cast on that podcast as Black Adam?
We actually did.
That's how long ago that The Rock was originally attached to the project, and it didn't finally get released until last year.
That's mental.
That's insane.
It's because we gave up the day we decided to give up. We'd been fighting through to get another episode. It'd been like a month since the last one. We're like, right, we've got the time together. We've done it. I also used to heavily edit that podcast. Like this one, I just like, once it starts, unless we say anything offensive, it keeps going. But we used to like have sections and I pure cut it down. So it was like, because we'd ramble on and talk about chillies for 45 minutes. But exactly.
I was just checking.
But it was so much work, and then we went and did our last episode, and we'd have this section. So it would start off with the news of what had been announced recently, and the episodes were 50 minutes. We recorded 45 minutes just going through the new release for the DC and Marvel like 5-year plan up to 2020, where they did like the that ended with Avengers Endgame and Justice League, and it took us 45 minutes just to even loosely reference every bit of it. And after we finished that, I edited it, I finished it, we put it out, and then like 2 days later, we just went, this is too fucking much.
I know, it became too much too quickly, and it was in a oversaturated market anyway, so it was more for ourselves than anything else. But the fact that we managed to, I suppose, do the work and managed to put out 15 episodes, I've never
16?
looked back on it. 16, I've never looked back at it and thought, you know what, that was an achievement. But now that I think about it,
we had like 150 listeners every time as well, which is pretty good for a no-name podcast. We were going to have actual decent guests on it.
You don't need to leave this in this podcast, but what's your numbers on this? I know I listen.
Well, actually, I was kind of amazed because last night, obviously I put it up last night at like 6 o'clock, and when I woke up this morning, it had 7 listens.
7 listens.
I mean, given it's episode 3, like 7 within like 15 hours of it coming out or something.
Yeah, I mean, you can't complain with that. And look, unless you're already a named person, the likelihood of you already getting people to just straight up listen to your podcast is difficult. But it's just podcasting is such a saturated market, which is why I don't think I could ever host one myself again. So hats off to you. I'm happy to be a guest, but like looking at all the other people that are doing podcasts and some of them that have got name value to themselves, you're like, they're obviously probably not making money off it. It's more of an advertisement. That's really all podcasting is for most people, is an advertisement.
It's just a way to get yourself known in a way.
Yeah, and like sometimes you'll have these like fantastic clips that you can put up on somewhere, like Christopher MacArthur Boyd's quite good for that. I've listened to his and Enjoy an Album podcast a couple of times, and he's got some clips that will be out there of him being on other podcasts, and they'll pop up and you're like, oh, that's good, I'm going to listen to that episode now.
Yeah, it just kind of it's about, I guess it's kind of like a community thing, like in its own way, where it's you sort of get folk for other podcasts on, and then like it's just a way of socialising in it, but it's like
seems like it because Lucha done Darren Connell's recently, and I was so jealous, man. Like, Lucha's a known guy already. I knew who he was way before I knew that he was doing stand up, because I'm into wrestling, so I was like, I know who Lucha is, and I was like, fucking cool, man. And then I went and met him, and I was like, you're cool. And I like to think like he sends me memes sometimes now as well.
He does. I get that from him every now and again, just a random meme. You're like, huh. I
like to think that we're sound with each other now.
Yeah,
I wouldn't exactly say friends, because we don't like hang about and I don't see him. The last time I saw him was at Wits of Winged Ox, but good guy as well, and funny, and the fact that he's able to do so much. But like, I was so jealous because like I saw him talking on that Darren Connell podcast, and they're just chatting wrestling. I'm like, that should be me.
I want to get in on
should
that.
be me, man. And like talking again about Christopher MacArthur Boyd, like I saw you said somewhere you were like, the reason I'm doing this is to get on Taskmaster, which fucking buckled me. Like, I was like, that's so funny. And I thought, I want to have lesser aspirations than that, but equally as prestigious
But
for me. And I'm like, I just want to be on Christopher MacArthur Boyd's Enjoy an Album talking about the darkness.
yeah,
That's where I want to be.
it's that kind of thing where it's like the reason I want to be on Taskmaster is not because I want to be on national television or anything like that.
Making a lot
It's
of money.
it is just the funnest thing. It is full comfort. If I feel like shit, Taskmaster.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a bunch of people using their daft creative brains to do daft stupid stuff. And I got the Christmas crackers, and they all have tasks in it, and you basically play the game over Christmas Day. My family did it, and it was just the most ridiculous thing. Like, one was one of the tasks was like, I was like, you'll swap being the Taskmaster, so everyone else has to do the thing for you, to you, whatever. And one was like, it was like, take the Taskmaster on a hot date, and
your dad getting that.
well, it was like,
And he's like, well, I'm not going to say no because that would offend you.
probably. So
Only first base.
That's my father. He listens to this, by the way.
Sorry. I saw an opportunity and I had to jump. I don't even do horrible humour like that. You know?
You're just a bastard.
I know.
No, so my sister-in-law, she like heated up some dessert or something and made me a cup of tea. Or it was like a cup of tea with like some biscuits, and sat me down. She was like, "Oh, it's great to see you," and gave me a very warm. It was a warm date. That's what it was, or like a warm.
So the tea.
Yeah, it was like it was supposed to be a warm and like welcome or something like that. Sat me down, she gave me a hug, and she said some very sincere, lovely, nice things to me. And then because it's like you have to try and get to the Taskmaster's heart, and I was like, I think she actually won it because I was just like, it was just so sweet. But then Craig came upstairs. He disappeared for a few minutes. It was his turn to come to do it. And I was like, you could have just like went downstairs and taken your shirt off or something. That would have been very warm, you know? And then he went, no, stand there. So I had to just stand like this. And he just layered every jacket, jumper, everything in the house on me. And there's just a picture of me. Like with a big hoodie over the top of it, like this. I was like, and he went, now do 10 jumping jacks. I was like, I'm too warm. It was effective.
Well, look, in the literal sense of the word, I mean, it gets really literal, doesn't it? In Taskmaster,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's not even like unilateral. It's sometimes
How does it go into your brain?
duolateral.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just like that can't, you know, Greg, I don't agree with you on this one.
Yeah, they just pure fight for it. I love it. And my favourite one is like when he's like, the intention of the task is so they all buy each other horrible presents for each other.
Oh, like at the start.
Yeah. And I've forgotten her name. Desiree Birch. She gets Guz Khan she commissioned a painting of a bully kuta, which is a big bully dog, a Pakistani bully dog, and wearing like one of Guz's big puffer jackets. And it's like it's such a cool painting, and it comes up and Gus is just like, oh. It's like, that's so good. Like, he just gets all emotional, and then Greg gets raging. He's like, no, this isn't the point. You're all supposed to be horrible to each other. And he goes, well, you might not even win. You'll have to win to get it. And then the rest of them all turn around and go, don't worry, if I win, you're getting the painting. It's just pure funny. The creativity of it is what makes it brilliant.
Yeah, like I agree. That's you just see people doing some really bizarre things. Rod Gilbert was the maddest one I've seen so far out of all the seasons I've watched. But yeah, like just being thrown into that environment and just coming up with like weird creative ideas, and that's what I like. I like absurd humour sometimes. Not too absurd. I'm not Noel Fielding. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That's just weird stuff. Like sometimes he's really funny. He's really funny in a lot of things that I've seen him do. But see, like watching The Mighty Bush or whatever, I do enjoy it. But I'm not sitting back being like fucking.
This is top quality comedy.
No, I never think that. But obviously, he's a very creative guy that can just come up with any idea from fucking absolutely nothing.
Have you watched Auntie Donna?
No, I've heard about it, but I kept seeing adverts ages ago about it.
I mean, I think Antidon are so hilarious, but they are absurd, but not. There's something disturbing about Noel Fielding's kind of absurdness that isn't with them. It's more just like, this is so fucking stupid, and you're rolling your head back laughing because it's just ridiculous. There's my favourite bit of theirs is they land up. It's like Christmas dinner, and they're talking about how they're gonna have dessert, and it's like, oh, so they couldn't eat another bite, and then they just start going like, oh, but you've got a little room for pud, don't you? A little room for pud, you know. And they just keep saying back and forth.
I think
oh,
I've seen that
squeeze
clip.
a little bit of pud. So a little bit of pud is like iconic, and they're just so funny. I saw them live, and Larry Dean supported them actually.
He's very good. I saw
so
him
good, very flexible.
3 or 4 weeks ago in St Luke's.
Oh yeah,
There was a comedy show on in St Luke's, and I went to it, and it was him, a few other people. I forgot their names right now, but I had never heard of him. People were talking about him, and I was like, oh, this guy's really good. And what I really enjoyed about him was he's LGBTQ plus humor is actually like really funny and doesn't just. It's not like he's set. You know what I mean? I don't know how to.
It's not like from the queer community. It's not humor for the queer community.
Yeah, like
it's for the humor for the human population, like everyone.
Yeah, everybody can laugh at it.
Yeah.
It's like, ha ha.
I love it because he does that thing where he's like, he doesn't look like. I can't remember the exact way he says it, but it's like he doesn't look like a queer person. He looks like the advert for like child poverty in Glasgow or something like that. It's not his exact joke, but like
he done the joke at one point, and he was going through it, and he's like, oh, is that not straight enough for you? What about FIFA? Way. And then he goes later on, he says something, he's like, and the directions took me right to your mum's house. Way, that's for the boys. And I'm like, I'm the boys.
It's like Z. Have you seen Z before?
I
Z-
met him at the bungalow show, maybe.
No, he wasn't at that one. He did the ultra course with us, and he's done.
Oh, I did. Spoke to him. He did the advanced comedy as well, didn't he? With yous. He
Yes.
was on the night that I went to where Lucia and Colette. Colette, my personal favourite.
Colette is
Anytime,
amazing.
like Colette was on my one, and I just. Anytime I see Colette, I'm so happy to see you because you're so good, and
Yes.
Colette just doesn't look like a stand-up
I was
comedian.
gonna say she's so unassuming, and then she's so fucking funny, and it's really clever.
Yeah.
It's really clever. So Z comes out, and like one of the things I've seen him do is he comes out and just goes, "I'm only here for the fanny."
Seen him say that. Yeah.
Just like
I spoke to him once at that show. He was talking to Hitesh. I know Hitesh, and we were just chatting away. I was having to like do a Rolodex of like who it could possibly be. I'm like, yeah, that sounds familiar. Or have I just read that online?
I do that all the time. Like it was in that last episode, because I know you listened to it, but
To the first one. By the time this one comes out, the second one will have been out surely.
Oh yeah. So episode 3, but oh wait, yeah, no, it is in that bit. It is in that.
Yeah,
one.
but it'll be the
He
first
starts-
part of
Yes.
the Chris ones.
Yes, the first part of the Chris ones. So yeah, you listen to them, but like they have videos with them and that, and
I don't watch the video.
which is fair. But I just because I don't put a huge amount into it, but sometimes I'll just put stupid stuff like wee stupid captions or little bits of graphics or whatever. And one of them was Chris is obviously yelling at me to put a picture of Jack Trainer up, and I was like, it was that thing where I'm like, I have no kind of. I know of him, but I cannot place who he is at all.
I knew straight away somehow. I don't know who he is. I think I've just saw it online because he's like ginger guy mullet, and I was like, oh, he's got the glasses.
Yeah. So in the video, it's just like him. Like I found a picture on like from a gig poster or something, and it just like slides into frame and then back out again. He's giving like Homer Simpson into
Yeah, like that's the kind of weird humour that I enjoy. You know, like just like really bizarre, weird scenarios, and I've found myself in some really bizarre, weird scenarios. Like you heard me talk about the breaking my ribs at Download, which was people at the bungalow show. I never told you this. People at the bungalow show asked me after that set if that was true. They asked if any it was true. They're like, "That surely that wasn't real," and I was like, "No, that all did happen." And then I performed my first stand-up show with broken ribs. I was like, "So it happened." And my last training for that first stand-up show was obviously 2 days after. 3 days after I'd broke my ribs, and I showed up an hour early, not realising that I was there an hour early because I was on so much painkillers and drugs. I went and done what would be my set for the following week, and I didn't remember it. I just stood there, and I was like, I had not at any point had any concerns about going up on stage and doing it in front of the place, which we knew at that point was probably going to be sold out, which is about 150 Blackfriars, something like that. And I had no concerns at any point, but see, as soon as I went up and I fucked it in front of no crowd with broken ribs, completely fucking jaked out of the balls with all these painkillers that I'd been gave the night before, I was just like, this is going to be dreadful.
See, this is notorious in theatre, and it's like, if you have a good dress rehearsal, you're going to have a bad show. So you want to have a bad dress rehearsal, because it's the thing, your brain just goes, this is the last one, gotta get it right. You just totally fuck it.
But my brain
just
wasn't on my side. No, my brain didn't know what was happening.
It's just like, it's good to see you, Viv.
Is that your name?
Is it Viv? It's like, why? What's that in? Sorry, I was going to try and make a joke of saying, "What's that in your bra?" and try and indicate that she was Colette and Viv was Colette in your head. But I just
she wasn't doing that at that point, to be fair. So,
oh, she is so funny though.
I'm just like confusing everybody for Hitesh, which would obviously be impossible.
Every person, there's like 3 people in stand-up comedy in the UK. It's him, Ramesh Ranganathan.
That's actually unfair, and I'm going to dispute this right now, because Drygate put on an Asian comedy night.
Too, yeah.
They did. They put one on. I never went, but
because you're a racist.
Do you know, somebody said that to me recently?
Was someone actually called you a racist?
Yeah, but like in a joking way.
Oh, right,
it's
okay,
because this Italian gentleman looked like another gentleman. I says, "Oh, you back for whatever?" And he's like, "No, you're thinking of the other guy. You're just a fucking racist." And I was like, "Now that I know you're Italian, I think I might be." I was going to say, I thought of something there. See, on my first stand-up one, which was Ultra Turned, just Viv's G Comedy Showcase,
yes.
Which Viv's class, man, like she's so funny, so good, very welcoming and
it's a
enjoyable.
Viv G Stan podcast.
Yeah, man, like everybody's going to say nice things about her. I don't think anybody would be able to say any bad things about
if they ever want a gig again.
No, exactly. But
she's quite rightfully influential.
On that show, we had 2 people that weren't going to perform on the night, and we ended up doing another show in the December for one of the other people, because they'd been going through cancer treatment, and very good, and she got to perform with a crowd, but she decided in the last minute she was going to do it because everybody convinced her, so she done it on the first one, but none of her friends or family were there, obviously, because she was just coming to see everybody else, and she had just had like weeks of cancer treatment, so fair fucks, man. And I'm there complaining about broken ribs, and Viv's like, "James is still here with broken ribs," and I'm like, come on, guys.
That's fine.
But there was one of the other people that was to perform decided they weren't going to do it. Then they did decide they were going to do it, and fucking hats off again that they wanted to do it. But I was standing in the back, right? And Viv comes up to me and she's like, "X is going on before you." And I'm like, "Motherfucker."
It's like, I'm done.
It's like, I'm not that like I was concerned about their set being like fucking great and me being shit or whatever, or anything, because nobody knows what's going to happen on your first one, right? It was just that I knew what the schedule was and I was fine with that. It was the fact that it had just changed last minute, and then like I knew I was having to follow that up, because obviously Viv was going to be like, "This person's decided just to do it right now, blah blah," and then I have to go up on stage, and you'll have never heard this one unless you watched my first video, but I've done it twice and I've not done it since, because I got a lukewarm response the second time, and it put me off, because it's already a vulnerable story as is. No, not in that way, but It's a
Just you
joke.
greeting in the back of Blackfriars.
It's just a joke about me, how I took mushrooms one night and I felt unwell the next day and all that. And eventually what happened was is I was going home after being out in the night at Cat House all night, late December. I'm walking up here to the flat, walking from Duke Street to Alexandra Parade, and I end
Just
up
give
having
away
to...
where you live.
Well, Alexandra Parade's a massive street. So I'm just walking up the street and I run back down the back of the knackered door, pull down my trousers and have to projectile shit everywhere, essentially. So I done that joke.
Sounds like magic mushrooms.
Oh, like the first time I done it, everybody was like, "Wah!" kind of like big response, and I was like, "Yes!" And when I had told people I was going to do stand up, they're like, "Surely you're going to tell that story?" And I was like, "Of course I'm going to tell that story." Second time I done it, I kind of got a ha ha at the punchline when I was like, "It came out of my arse like an RPG," and it was like, "Ha ha," and I went, "Fuck." So this is my
kills
issue.
when you have to set up a joke. If it's a long joke
Aye.
and it's just a then you're like, oh.
But I basically, I knew I was going to do that joke that first time, obviously, and I knew I was going to do that after this heartwarming thing where somebody's went up on stage and they're like, they've decided to do it last minute, and I'm like, I shat myself. Thankfully, it was the end of the set for mine as well. Was that?
You were the last. Oh, it was at this, so you'd went through the set and.
Oh, I'd done the whole set.
They'd-
In the whole
So
set.
Lee Harvey Oswald came before that then?
Oh, way before that, man. That was like part of the peak, and then the breaking my ribs and being held up like fucking Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, thrown down, breaking my ribs, the freedom stuff. That joke's evolved over time. Like
Aye.
that's what I really enjoy about the stand-up comedy is the
How they change.
evolution, because you just start cutting bits and changing it. You make it sound better.
Well, that's the thing, like, is because I had the thing about the cult thing. Like I say, none of the jokes have changed.
Mhm.
It's just the setup for it is different, and it's like, well, I just didn't feel like I needed to put in. But I do have another point, another joke that is long time in the works, because I'm not very good at telling personal stories, like actual anecdotes, because there's this one basically where me and it's like I set it up by going, I've got a best pal. We've been best pals for so long. And one day many years ago, we are out in Edinburgh, hungover as hell, shopping for our dignity, and then
Deacon Blue.
shipping for our dignity. But then I said, we're walking down the street. She's talking away, and I see a sign that says. Free personality tests. I'm a comic with ADHD. Of course, my reaction was, ooh, tell me about myself. So I beelined to them. And then Ariel's halfway down the street and I'm giving this person my sort code. So noticing, she turns around, comes flying back up the street, grabs me and whips me away. And
Was that while you were still holding the thetan meter? Or...
Well, this is the actual truth of it.
Shut up,
That's
no,
when
wasn't
she took me, grabbed me for the grasping hands of the Scientologists. And I didn't know about Scientology at this point because it was like 10, 12 years ago or something. 10 years ago. And she was like, do you know who that fucking was? I was like, no. So I say the end joke of it is like, that's why you need your best pal, because she'll save me for a cult. And I'll stop her going down dark alleyways following promise of suspicious powders. And it's just like, it's good, it's all good. But I'm like, it's got so much to work in it, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's
I know what
hard
you mean.
telling anecdotes. Like,
Yeah, I've got some stuff that I've written down, right, and I don't know where to go with it. Kind of just starts with the Bible too.
good start.
And then I don't know where it goes for there. But then I've got another one where I don't know what to do with the joke, and I've just wrote it down, and it's not even a joke yet. It's just like a concept.
Yeah.
It's actually more like a product design concept, because what I did at the What's a Wing Doc show is I just shouted it out at the end of the show.
What was that?
So like in my notes ages ago, I wrote down, because I was like daydreaming one day while working, and I just wrote down double-decker police van. And I was like, don't know why that's funny, but it fucking is funny. And in my mind, the police don't sit at the top and like drive it, and the prison compartment's at the bottom. The prison compartment's at the top, and they drive at the bottom of it.
And there's a whole back of the bus, school kids, like,
Don't know
school
about that
trip
part.
thing
We didn't
there.
get that far, but like, and I never thought I was going to end up using it for anything, and I still don't know what I'm going to do, but I've got it written there. But what I did do for that What's a Wing Doc show was I just at the end of it, I was like, I want you to think of 3 words or whatever. And I just went double-decker police van, 4 words, obviously. Double-decker police van. And people were like, what did that mean? I was like, what do you think it means?
Thought-provoking.
I was essentially just trying to get people to write the joke for me.
It was like, what do you tell me?
Yeah.
No, because I hear that, I think I'm picturing you've got hundreds of jokes about school trips and like.
No, I don't have anything.
Shut up. I'll find. What do you think it means? I'm picturing like you got the prisoners fighting over who gets to the back of the bus, whatever, all that stuff, right? It's the top floor is the prisoners, the bottom floor is the police. But then I'm also seeing it as like party bus, the stripper pole, and all that stuff. And you've got to fit in the fact that the police vans are called shit, why can't I remember this? I use it all the time.
The derogatory term,
The boogie bus.
Oh,
That's what I'm
I thought you were
thinking.
meaning like the meat wagon or whatever they used to be called. Paddy wagon, because
Oh, I
they would
see.
always. It's derogatory nowadays, but it's not the worst of the derogatories, is it?
I know people say like worse, more, not even St. Paddy's Day is a thing, and if that's not offensive, like
Yeah,
the whole
exactly.
thing. Great, big pause.
Anything specific you want to talk about?
Yes, because I mean this has just been a very much stream of consciousness. I mean they're not particularly strict topics usually, but this has been. I mean we started it at Chillies.
Which is fine. It's much better to have a stream of consciousness than not have
Any consciousness?
Yeah, like at least there's conversation. If you end up running out of stuff, I've got stuff written there.
No, I know you've got hundreds of stuff written.
Oh, it's just
and
written. I've went through like some of them already. So
right, so I'll do some. We can actually do it quick fire because I tried to do it quick fire with Chris, and it was 45 minutes before we got through the quick fire questions. So,
okay.
Right, who's your sort of favorite currently working modern comic from the whole nation or America?
The whole nation,
the whole world,
Do you know what I'm
or
going
a
to?
couple of favorites.
I'm going to say, I really enjoyed Larry Dean. Like I said
Nice.
already. Where are you going to put this in the podcast? I really enjoyed Larry Dean. He was really good. I'm a fan of his work already, so I'd probably go see him again. I've mentioned Christopher McArthur Boyd a couple of times, and he's great. He opened my mind up to like a lot of different jokes, and he done a joke about Metallica recently that fucking killed me. And one of the times I saw him before, he was doing the hosting for, or the compere for the Uncle Roger show at Glee Club, and he done it for Frankie Boyle as well at the Glee Club when it was his work in progress. And one of the times he was like, I don't know whether to impersonate him because I do an alright impersonation, but I don't know if I should. He's like, has anybody ever flew into YYZ in America? And everybody, in Canada. And everybody's like, what the fuck's he talking about? He's like, anybody know why it's important? And I sat there, and I'm not the person that's going to shout out in a show, right? But I knew the answer.
Rush?
It's Rush. I was like, Rush! And he's like, yes! And I'm like, because that's the humour that I enjoy, where like, I enjoy if somebody gets it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I do bits in almost every single set where I include Fred Durst or Limp Bizkit, right?
Yeah.
And one of the times, I think it must have been the first show that I done, I said, I'll have nothing said about Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit, one of the greatest bands ever. And Chocolate Starfish and Hot Dog Flavoured Water is one of the best albums ever. And I just paused for a second, like, because I was going to say the next thing. And one guy at the back went, yeah! And I just, you see me in the video, Katie, right? You see me in the video turn like this and I go, keep on rolling.
You're like, brother.
There was also, I believe they were Hitesh's friends, right? And they threw me off guard. They've met me since in work, because have you been recognised for your comedy at all? Because I have multiple times. Multiple times.
I
By
don't
people
think
that
so.
I don't know.
I used to do, like, I'd get recognised for theatre and stuff when I was
Alright,
in
okay.
costumes and stuff, but
Yeah.
no, not comedy yet.
Yeah, bizarre. So I was talking to some guys one night about their Queens of the Stone Age t-shirt. I was like, oh, have you went to see them? They're like, yeah, they were all really good, but no as good as you in Blackfriars. And I went, what?
Who the fuck are you?
So it turned out they were Hitesh's friends, and I was talking to them, and I was like, shit, you really threw me off guard the last show. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And they're like, how? I was like, because one of yous was wearing an Electric Six t-shirt, and I couldn't stop thinking about it.
The whole time you're just going.
I'm like, I keep turning. I think, do I mention it now? Do I like not mention it? Like, what do I do? But yeah, like just that weird thing that I have seen Christopher McArthur Boyd doing, where he'll mention music. He done one on, I think it was some Laugh podcast, and they were talking about t-shirts, and he's like, I've got a Megadeth t-shirt for the Barrowlands. Is it like that? And I'm like, mate, that's just so fucking funny to me because this is my life.
Yeah,
you know?
it's just relatable.
It's just music nerds talking about music.
That's true. I mean, I always talk about this, there's like this, you don't get, there's no universal culture anymore.
No, it's impossible. And that's why when I do my comedy, I mean, if some people laugh, fucking fair enough, right? But mine's is not always the most broad.
You kind of
right?
have to get the references.
Yeah, sometimes I set it up enough that it would be funny on its own. There was one that I set up enough on my own a while ago, and it didn't go. It was the train one.
Like, you do set that up pretty well.
I set that up so well, and it didn't land as well as I'd hoped.
When did you do it?
It was at the Witsawing Docks one,
right.
and I just didn't think it landed as much as I'd thought it would have landed.
I think that's so funny. I mean, you can't use it now.
How?
Because the guy for Train died
No,
recently.
it wasn't him. It wasn't him.
No.
He was in Train originally, but that's even funnier, his story. Because, like, see, when I get told about it,
Yeah.
they were like, James, you hear somebody for Train died? And I was like, shut up, my material just get better.
Because I was going to message you.
Yeah, it wasn't Pat Monahan. It was like one of the original guys. And unfortunately for the guy, did you read how he died?
No.
He fell in a shower, not in his house. It was in his friend's house in Belgium that he was house sitting.
That's so shit.
What a horrible, horrible, funny way to die.
Oh, that's painful.
But yeah, so Christopher
Yes.
McArthur Boyd, really enjoy him. Larry Dean from that one show that I saw him do, really enjoyed that. Susie McCabe, also very good. All of these people, unbelievably, I've met through work as well. Darren Connell, I met him in my work. I met Susie McCabe, I met Christopher McArthur Boyd, and like chatted to like all of them, apart from Larry Dean. Actually, never spoke to him, never got a chance. But they're all really good people. When I spoke to Christopher McArthur Boyd, he was like, fucking. I was saying that my mum was going to see him, and she's like a big fan of him. And I was like, oh, my mum's going to see you at Van Winkle. And he's like, what's her name? And he's like, I'm just going to be like, is James's ma here? I was like, see if you did that, man. She would fucking die. So, Christopher McArthur Boyd. I'm going to put him out there as my current guy because I think he's really good. Especially with that Metallica joke. If you've not seen it yet, man, you need to see it. It's just fucking bizarre.
I love references like that. Because like you said about the YYZ one, I don't know what I repeat on this podcast. I've probably said it before, but it's like my Inconvenient Truth one. I was going to take it out because
it's the Al Gore.
Yeah, because folk laugh at the Al Gore bit.
Yeah.
You say more Al Gore than algebra, and then they laugh, and then you go the real inconvenient truth of that, and pause, and then nobody laughs as much,
niche,
and
man.
then you go, yes, it is, and then you go. And then people start to get it and start to laugh, and then you go, if you've got fucking Al Gore, you have to get Inconvenient Truth.
I don't
You're
know.
missing it, man.
That's a hard one. I would
depends
say.
your age, I
But
think.
Age and nobody's watching that anymore.
No, it's so outdated.
But
Have you seen
I love
Pat
it.
Joyce? He does like 6 minutes on O.J. Simpson, and you're like, wow, that's some fucking up-to-date content, Pat. It's so funny. It's the full glove quit shit.
I guess that's what's funny, right? Is like
'Cause it's
everybody
so
could be doing
zeitgeist.
the exact same fucking nonsense, right? Or we could all just start talking about how much we love Fred Durst, you know?
I think, but I love that because it's like, if I know, because I do know Limp Bizkit, Fred Durst, and like you said about even just like thinking about Chocolate Starfish and hot dog
flavor.
water, it's like you start to remember things of like your dodgy youth with those songs.
Yeah.
And
I like the reference. Obviously, not every reference is going to land, and I try my best to set them up, but not always. I'm not always apologising for them. It's like I started that weird joke in St. Luke's at the Witsawing Docks one where I was like, Socrates said that the one true wisdom is knowing you know nothing. And to me, I found that funny without even fucking going anywhere else,
'Cause
right?
it's so
Because it's just out of the blue.
weird, yeah.
It's so out of the blue and weird, you know. And I think I knew people were kind of like, "What the fuck is going on here?" But that's the reaction that I wanted,
Yeah.
right? I'm happy with that reaction. I want people to be like, "What the fuck?" But then I go on to say, I think it's like another late 20th century philosopher who once said, "Hey kid, take my advice. You don't want to step into a big pile of shit." And I'm like, Fred Durst, 2000. frontman of Limp Bizkit, the hot dog flavoured water, Shaggira, Christina Aguilera, all that stuff. And it's like, whether it's that funny or no, I don't really care. It was a quick thing, you know. Sometimes you just throw stuff out there for the sake of it, kind of like that Bono joke that I done.
Yeah.
Which is just like,
It's
want
so
to grow.
hard for folk to get.
Yeah, the Sonny Bono part, I get that, right? I get that. No, everybody's going to make that immediate correlation, right? Which is why I changed the joke around. But the Bono one where I'm like, my dad wanted to call me Bono or whatever, which may or may not even be true at this point. It may actually be fabricated. But it's funny nonetheless, that the idea that he would want to call me Bono. But when I done that one at the bungalow, which was the first time I had done it because I just wrote it like a couple of days prior, people were like, "Oh, that's horrible." And I'm fine with that. Like, I'm fine with that, and I end the joke with I could have lived with or without it, which is and you would rather have like a than, you know, nothing.
Yeah.
And when I wrote my report for uni for the Wits of Wing Docs, like I wrote that's what part of that joke the intention was. I never expected people to be buckled out laughing, you know. There's going to be somebody that's going to be like, "Oh, fuck it, that's just genius."
It's that thing, as if it makes your brain, if you have to work for the joke and it takes you a wee second to get it, even if half the room don't get it, even if only 10% of the room get it, it's more funny for the person who gets it because they're like, "I'm clever."
Yeah.
It was like Alan Ritchie told me that. He said, he's just the loveliest guy around, to be honest. If I said I was going to take that joke out, and he went, "Don't you dare," because I love that joke so much. It makes me laugh every time. I laugh so hard because I always think, I'm a clever bastard. I know what inconvenient shit.
I know, see, as soon as you say that, I had to think for a second. I was like, "Oh shit, aye, they all go." I mean, see if you then when like fucking a plane hit the second tower or something like that, then people would know that you were in the same era.
It's out on a limb.
Well, I don't know.